Good morning, students. So today we are going to start our next chapter, that is respiration in plants. So in this chapter, what we are going to study? So here we are going to study the mechanism by which the process of respiration it takes place in plants. As we know very clear that respiration is generally a term that we think that it is associated with animals, but in this chapter we are going to know that respiration is not only concerned with animals, but it is also an important process of plants too. So what we are going to study in this chapter, number one, do plants breathe? So here we are going to study that what is the mechanism that is present in plants by which they are doing the process of respiration or breathing. Then we are going to study in detail about the process of glycolysis. Here glycolysis is the process in which a 6-carbon compound, that is a glucose, which is a hexose sugar, and it is formed during the process of photosynthesis. Later its breakdown takes place both in aerobic as well as anaerobic conditions. So when the breakdown of glucose takes place in the cytoplasm in anaerobic conditions, then the process is known as glycolysis. The another name of glycolysis here is EMP pathway, that I will going to tell you in detail later on in the chapter. And you have also studied in class 10th in glycolysis, and that the net gain of ATP that we obtain from glycolysis is 2 ATPs. Next is fermentation. Fermentation is also the another type of anaerobic respiration. As you know, respiration is of two types, aerobic and anaerobic. That is depending upon the amount of oxygen that is utilized. So fermentation is a type of anaerobic respiration that generally takes place in a unicellular fungus such as yeast. And as a result of oxidation of glucose, as here, again the partial oxidation of glucose takes place. So an alcohol is formed during the reaction, and that is ethanol. Similarly, one anaerobic process, it is also takes place in human muscles. And as a result, acid is formed, and that acid is lactic acid. Because of this, we feel cramps in our muscles. Okay, student, we will also going to study in detail about the aerobic respiration. So always remember, aerobic respiration is the type of process in which the complete oxidation of the glucose molecule takes place. And as a result, 36 ATPs, they are obtained during this process. So here the complete oxidation of glucose is there. So whenever a hydrocarbon is completely oxidized, so always carbon dioxide and water is produced as a byproduct along with large amount of ATPs. So the net gain of ATPs from aerobic respiration, which generally takes place in the mitochondria, it is 36 ATP. So here if I want to tell you that how many ATPs that are obtained from the total process of respiration, so that is 2 ATPs from glycolysis and rest of 36 ATPs from aerobic respiration from mitochondria. So the total is 38 ATPs. After aerobic respiration, we will study about the respiratory balance sheet. Here we are going to tell you that there are different types of respiratory substrates such as carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, and organic acids. So all of these respiratory substrate, they gives us a variable amount of energy, and their oxidation also required some amount of oxygen. Some of the respiratory substrate, for example, carbohydrates, they are completely oxidized, and their respiratory quotient, it is equivalent to 1. Whereas in case of proteins, this respiratory quotient, the RQ value, it is equal to 0.9. And in case of fats, the complete oxidation of fats is not taking place generally. So here in case of fats, the net value for the RQ, that is respiratory quotient, it is 0.7. In the last, we are going to tell you that respiration is a kind of an amphibolic pathway. So amphibolic pathway means it is a type of a pathway which generally have both type of reactions, that is catabolic and anabolic reactions. So both of these, they constitutes the complete pathway that I will tell you in the last of the chapter. Okay, student, let's start our chapter. So what is given in the introduction, that all living organisms, whether they may be plants, animals, or microbes, all of them, they have to breathe. They have to breathe to survive. So all living organisms, they also require energy for carrying out their various metabolic activities or life processes that are generally occurring in the body of the living organism. So there are variety of life processes or metabolic activities that takes place in our body. It may be absorption of the food material, it may be transport of substances from one cell to another and vice versa. It may be the different kind of movements that our body perform, or sometimes it is the process of reproduction. It may be asexual or sexual, whatever. So breathing is also one of the activity that living organism has to do, and for this they require energy. Okay, students, from where this energy come from? So this energy generally comes from food. So we are eating variety of foods that gives us different amount of energy. So all kind of foods do not give us same amount of energy. There is a variable number of energy that we obtained from them. Also, I want to tell you that the process of breathing, it is very much connected with this process of release of energy. There is a big difference between the term breathing and respiration. Student, all the energy what we required for successful functioning of these life processes in our body, that is generally coming from the oxidation of the macromolecules. As these macromolecules, they are generally the component of our food. So you know that these macromolecules, which may be carbohydrates, proteins, fats, or certain organic acids, they are generally manufactured by our green plants and other autotrophs such as a cyanobacteria. So in green plants, you know, there is a process that is unique to the green plants, and that is known as a photosynthesis. And photosynthesis is a light dependent reaction. So here in the leaves of the plant, what is present? Chloroplast is present, and inside the chloroplast, a green pigment is present known as a chlorophyll, which generally harvests the light that is coming in the form of sunlight from sun. The students, though plants, they are autotrophs, they have macromolecules, they synthesize these macromolecules, but they also need the oxidation of these macromolecules so that their breakdown takes place and they obtain energy for the functioning of various metabolic activities that are occurring in the body of plants too. And if I am talking about animals, then these animals, they are the true heterotrophs. They are always dependent on autotrophs for obtaining their food. Whether they are directly dependent or whether they are indirectly dependent, they may be categorized as the herbivores and carnivores respectively. Beside these, we have another category of the living organisms which are also very important, and these are the saprophytes or the saprotrophs. They generally saprotrophs, we have fungi, bacteria. There are different species of fungi and bacteria, and all of them, they are dependent on dead and decaying organic matter, and from this they obtain their energy. So in the ecosystem, the food chain is also of two types. One is the saprotrophic type of food chain, and another is the grazing type of food chain that you will study next year in the chapter ecosystem. A student, here one diagram is visible on your screen. That one green plant is shown to you, and that green plant in the daytime, it receives sunlight, and from sun it actually harvests the light corresponding to red and blue wavelength by the chlorophyll pigment present in the chloroplast of the leaves, and the process of photosynthesis takes place. You have also studied the classical equation of photosynthesis, and as a result, what happened? This carbon dioxide and water, they react together and they form carbohydrates, and the simplest type of carbohydrate is the glucose. So later on, this glucose is not stored in the form of glucose in the plant body. You know very well, you have studied in class 10th that this glucose, when need to be stored in the plant body, it is in the form of glycogen. And later, it is in the form of starch, and in animals, it is in the form of glycogen. Okay, students. So in the process of photosynthesis, generally carbon dioxide gas is used. But as you know, as a result of photosynthesis, oxygen gas, it is produced as a byproduct. And this oxygen gas is later used for the purpose of respiration, where the oxidation of this macromolecule glucose takes place with the help of 6 molecules of oxygen. And as a result, the breakdown of the macromolecule takes place, and we obtain 6 molecules of carbon dioxide along with 6 molecules of water and large amount of energy. But always remember that the process of respiration, it cannot take place in a single step. It is a multi-stepped metabolic, or you can say catabolic type of reaction. So why the respiration reaction, it always takes place in multi-steps? The reason behind this is that if it takes place in the form of a single step, then huge amount of energy is liberated, and it is not possible for the living organism to store that energy all of a sudden. So some of the energy can lost in the form of heat. So that's why it takes place slowly in so many steps that a limited amount of energy is released, and that energy is later stored in the chemical bonds of energy rich molecules, which are known as the energy currency of the cells, and these are nothing but they are the ATPs. Okay, student, here I have written the definition of cellular respiration. As the term itself indicates, cellular respiration means the process of respiration that takes place in the cells of the living organism. So if we have to define this, then you can write the mechanism of breakdown of food material within the cell to release energy, and trapping of this energy for the synthesis of ATPs. So this entire process, it is known as a cellular respiration. Okay, student, here I am going to tell you that where this process of cellular respiration, it generally takes place. So you know very well that photosynthesis, it always takes place within the chloroplast of the cell. These are generally the green color organelles that are present in the leaf of the plant. And here what happened? Here the breakdown of in case of respiration, as in the process of photosynthesis, macromolecules such as glucose, they are formed. But in the reaction of respiration, what happened? These macromolecules, which are actually the photosynthetes, they breaks down in the presence of oxygen, whether limited amount of oxygen or plenty of oxygen. And later, when the bonds present between these macromolecules, it undergoes breakage, then large amount of energy is released. If the process takes place in under anaerobic condition, then it is known as glycolysis. But if the process of oxidation of these macromolecules, it takes place in plenty of oxygen, then complete oxidation takes place, and the process is called aerobic respiration, and it takes place in mitochondria. Okay, student, here I have written the definition of respiration: the breaking of the carbon-carbon bonds of the complex compounds through oxidation within the cell and leading to the release of considerable amount of energy. It is called respiration. So here, as you know, respiration is an enzyme catalyzed reaction. So all enzymes, they need substrate for catalysis. So here, there are different types of respiratory substrates. It may be carbohydrates, proteins, it may be, you can say, organic acids or lipids, etc. So all of these respiratory substrates, they yield variable amount of energy. Yes, student, here one diagram is visible on your screen that is related with the process of glycolysis. As I have already defined the term in the beginning of the chapter, that glycolysis is the process that is concerned with the breakdown of glucose. And you know that glucose is a 6-carbon compound. It is a hexose sugar. So when its breakdown takes place in so many steps and so many intermediate products they are formed, so at the last we obtain pyruvic acid. And this pyruvic acid is a 3-carbon compound. Sometimes it is also called as pyruvate. So from 6-carbon glucose, a 3-carbon compound pyruvate is formed. The process takes place in the cytoplasm under anaerobic condition. And this process was first explained by 3 scientists, and their names are Imbandan, Meyerhoff, and Parnas. That's why this pathway is also known as EMP pathway. Okay, student, beside glycolysis, there is one another process that is related with cellular respiration, where the complete breakdown of the glucose molecule takes place in the presence of large amount of oxygen, and that process takes place in the mitochondria. It is known as aerobic respiration. And the cycle which is occurring in this process during the oxidation, that is known as a Krebs cycle. The student, as a result of this aerobic respiration, we obtain 36 ATPs. A huge amount of energy is obtained. And I will explain you the structure of the mitochondria in my previous chapter, that is cell as a unit of life. You know that this mitochondria, it has a smooth outer wall and an inner wall is highly folded, which is known as a crista. So this cristae or crista, it contains special type of particles known as F0, F1 particles, which generally contains the enzyme ATP synthase. So this ATP synthase, it is actually involved in the process of generation of the ATPs. So as the reaction takes place in mitochondria, in plenty of oxygen, that's why it is known as aerobic respiration, and the net yield is 36 ATPs. How this happen, I will explain you in detail. Okay, student, I have already explained respiratory substrate. It may be carbohydrates, it may be proteins, organic acids, or lipids or fats. So all of these, they are oxidized under various conditions in plants as well as in animals. So what happened during their oxidation? Large amount of energy is released, but not in a single step, but in so many steps. So it is released in a series of slow stepwise reaction, and all of these reactions, they are catalyzed by certain enzymes. That's why it is a multi-stepped enzyme catalyzed reaction, and the energy which is released at each step, it is stored in the form of ATP. So the net gain of ATP in glycolysis is 2, whereas in aerobic respiration it is 36. Yes, student, here again I have written the definition of respiratory substrate. These are the organic substances which are oxidized in cellular respiration for releasing energy. So it may be of different type. If we are talking about carbohydrates as respiratory substrate, then it may be glucose, it may be fructose, starch, glycogen, sucrose. And among fats, we have different type of fats. It may be fatty acid, glycerols. So when carbohydrates, they are exhausted, fats are used as a respiratory source, you know very well. Then what are proteins? Proteins, they are used as respiratory substrate under starvation. So here I have written the value of respiratory quotient for various respiratory substrate. So the complete oxidation of carbohydrates takes place. So the value is equal to unity or 1. And in case of lipids, as you know that lipids are complex macromolecules. So here, in case of lipids, the respiratory quotient value, it is equivalent to 0.7. So lipids, they require much more amount of oxygen for their oxidation. Third one is proteins. So in case of proteins, we have the value of respiratory quotient nearby to 0.9. So next to carbohydrates, proteins, they require much amount of oxygen for their oxidation. Okay, student, one diagram is visible to you. Here I have shown both the process. Glycolysis, always remember, takes place in the cytoplasm under anaerobic conditions. So here 6 molecules of glucose it enter, and through so many steps, this hexose sugar or 6 molecules of sugar, They later have to convert it into a 3-carbon compound, which is known as a pyruvate. And then another process which is known as the respiratory, second type of cellular respiration. Okay, the second process is known as Krebs cycle. The another name of the Krebs cycle is a citric acid cycle. So here, as you know, in this process, it takes place in the mitochondria, and large amount of energy-rich molecules they are produced. And there are net gain of 36 ATP from this cellular respiration that takes place in mitochondria, aerobic in nature, and it is also known as a Krebs cycle. Later, whatever the energy-rich molecules they are produced during this process, their oxidative phosphorylation takes place. Why it is known as oxidative phosphorylation? Because it takes place in the presence of oxygen. So it is a kind of a electron transport chain, and it is also explained with the help of chemi-osmotic hypothesis. So in this way, the energy that is stored in these energy-rich molecules, they later break down, they are oxidized, and that energy which is released, it is used by the plants for their plants and animals for their various biochemical reactions or metabolic reactions that are occurring in their body. Okay, student, next topic is ATP as energy currency of the cell. As you know that during the process of respiration, when various type of macromolecules they are oxidized, then energy is released. And that energy, it is later used for the synthesis of ATP. So that's why this energy which is released in each step of respiration, as it is stored by these ATPs in their chemical bonds, so that's why these ATPs, they are known as the energy currency of the cell. So energy which is stored in ATPs that are used for variety of processes that are occurring in the body of the living organisms. It may be different type of metabolic activities, and sometimes this energy is used for producing the carbon skeleton in the body of the organism in the form of certain macromolecules. They are also used for the biosynthesis of other important necessary molecules in the body of the living organism. Yes, student, here I have shown you the structure, chemical structure of the energy-rich molecule ATP. So all of you know very well that ATP has its component as a ribose sugar. So it is again a pentose sugar, as you have studied in case of nucleic acid. So this pentose sugar, which is a ribose sugar, at its one end, a nitrogenous base is attached, that is adenine. So a nucleoside unit is formed when with the sugar molecule a nitrogenous base it gets attached. So that's why we have written here the word adenosine. It is for nucleoside. And later 3 phosphate groups, they are attached with 1 carbon of the ribose sugar. So that's why it is known as adenosine triphosphate. And here student, these adenosine triphosphate, when their oxidation takes place, then one of the phosphate group that is attached with this adenosine triphosphate, it gets break and it released separately, and 2 phosphate groups they are remaining with the this adenosine. So the new molecule which is formed, it is known as adenosine diphosphate. And when another inorganic phosphate it gets separated, then from adenosine diphosphate, adenosine monophosphate is formed. Yes, student, here we come on our main topic, that do plants breathe? Yes, of course. Plants always breathe. Plants also require oxygen for respiration, and they also give out carbon dioxide. As you know, plants, they are doing the process of photosynthesis during daytime, and at that time they receive carbon dioxide from atmosphere and later form carbohydrates. And during daytime, oxygen is released as a byproduct. But during night time, that oxygen, it is captured by the plant for the purpose of their respiration, and carbon dioxide is given out from their body. So that's why we are generally advised that not to sleep under the tree. because carbon dioxide, it is released by the plants. Okay, student, like animals, plants, they do not have any kind of specialized organs for gaseous exchange. There are so many reasons behind this. They have some specific type of cells such as stomatas, and these stomatas, they are a special type of pores that are present in the upper and the lower epidermis of the leaves. And besides stomatas, lenticels are there in the bark of the stem. Why these cells are known as lenticels? Because these cells, they have shape like the lens. That's why they are known as lenticels. And you also know the structure of stomata, that these stomatas are in the form of a pore, which is known as stomatal pore. And the stomatal pore is guarded by two cells, which are kidney shaped. These are guard cells. And the guard cells, they are further surrounded by so many epidermal cells, which are known as the subsidiary cells. Okay, student, why respiratory organs, they are not present in plants? The reason behind this is, number one, that each plant part can take care of its own gaseous exchange. There are no specific type of cells that are concerned with the process of respiration. And second very important thing is that plants, they do not present great demand for gaseous exchange, as the organs of the plant, vegetative organs such as root, stem, leaves, they respire at a lower rate than animals. And the third thing is, during photosynthesis, large volume of gases are exchanged. And when cell do photosynthesis, then oxygen gas is produced within the cell, so no need for gaseous exchange. And another point here is the distance to which the gases have to diffuse, even in the large bulky plants, is also not great. So that's why they do not require some specific type of respiratory organs. Yes, student, here the structure of stomata and the lenticels, they are visible on your screen. So I have shown you the two conditions of stomata. In first condition, the stomata is closed, and in the second condition, the stomatas are open. The stomata are actually stomatal pore, which are pore-like structure present in the upper and lower epidermis of the leaf. So here see the structure of stomata. Nucleus is there, chloroplast are there, vacuoles are present. So these kidney-shaped cells which guard the stomatal pore, they are known as the guard cells. And further, these guard cells, they are surrounded by the subsidiary cells. So when the stomata open, then gaseous exchange takes place. And when these stomatas, they closed, then there is no loss of water as well as no gaseous exchange. Okay, see the second picture, that is of lenticels. So these lenticels are actually small pores that are present in the bark of the trees. So what is bark? Bark is a term that is generally used to denote crushed type of epidermal cells that generally came into existence when the process of secondary growth, it takes place in dicot stem so many times. Yes, student, next is the definition of cellular respiration and the equation concerned with them. So if you have to define cellular respiration or aerobic respiration, you can say it is the process where complete combustion of the glucose takes place. And one molecule of glucose, it reacts with how many molecules of oxygen? So 6 molecules of oxygen. And as a result, 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, 6 molecules of water, and along with large amount of ATPs, they are synthesized. So we have the formula C6H12O6, that is glucose. In the presence of 6 molecules of oxygen, it gives 6 molecules of carbon dioxide plus 6 molecules of water plus ATP, that is the energy rich molecules. Yes, student, here I have written the certain points that are related with the mitochondria as well as cytoplasm. So first point is turning on the powerhouse. So mitochondria, they are known as the powerhouses of the cell. I have also described the reason behind that these mitochondria, they have two types of membrane. Outer membrane is the smooth one, and inner membrane is highly folded, known as cresta, having F0, F1 particles, which contains the enzyme ATP synthase. And this ATP synthase enzyme, it later involved in the process of synthesis of ATPs. As so many amount of ATPs they are produced during the entire process in mitochondria. That's why they are known as the powerhouses of the cell. So they are generally concerned with cellular respiration, giving high yield of ATPs. Which organism use cellular respiration? So it is important to realize that both plants as well as animals, they generally break down their sugar molecules to release energy. And in both of them, cellular respiration takes place. So these organisms, whether they may be plant or animals, they have mitochondria. And in mitochondria, this aerobic respiration takes place in which glucose is oxidized. Complete oxidation is there, and carbon dioxide and water are produced as a byproduct along with large amount of ATPs. Yes, student, here I have written some account related with cellular respiration, that it is a kind of a catabolic reaction. So reaction in this, the oxidation of the glucose molecule takes place and energy is liberated. As it is a catabolic reaction, so it also takes place in so many steps, because in a single step, if huge amount of energy is produced, then it is not possible to trap that energy. So many steps are involved. It is a multi-step reaction, and the energy produced at each step is stored by ATPs. So during the process of respiration, oxygen is utilized, always remember, and carbon dioxide, water, and energy, they are released as byproduct. Yes, student, here I have shown you one picture showing respiration. So plant, they use cellular respiration to convert the energy stored in the form of macromolecules such as glucose into usable energy in the form of chemical energy. Yes, student, here I want to tell you some history behind the process of cellular respiration. As you know very well, during the process of evolution of the earth, the first cell which lives on the earth or the planet, it generally do the process of breakdown of food in the absence of oxygen. As you know that earth atmosphere is reducing type of atmosphere at that time. Oxygen gas is not present. So at that, in that cell, respiration takes place under anaerobic condition. Even in the present day living organisms, anaerobic conditions are also found in some of the organisms that are adapted to them, while in other type of organisms, the aerobic respiration, it generally takes place. So what type of organisms are there? Facultative type of organisms and obligate type of organisms. Okay, student, in glycolysis, what happened? The partial breakdown of glucose takes place in the cytoplasm with the help of enzymes without oxygen. That means under anaerobic condition. So that's why this process is called a glycolysis. It is also known as EMP pathway. And here, during the breakdown of the glucose, a 3-carbon compound is formed, which is known as a pyruvic acid. Yes, student, here I have shown you the flow chart related with the process of glycolysis. So in glycolysis, what happened? The process, it takes place in cytoplasm. So in the cytoplasm, a 6-carbon compound glucose, it enters, and this 6-carbon compound, which is glucose, by utilizing 1 ATP, it forms glucose 6-phosphate. Again, glucose 6-phosphate, it is a 6-carbon compound. Then this glucose 6-phosphate, with the help of one enzyme, it later changes into fructose 6-phosphate. And this fructose 6-phosphate is also a 6-carbon compound. And when its further oxidation takes place, then this fructose 6-phosphate, by utilizing 1 ATP, it formed fructose 1,6-bisphosphate, which is again a 6-carbon compound. Then later what happened? This fructose 1,6-bisphosphate, it later breaks down and forms 3-carbon compounds, 2 3-carbon compounds, and one is 1,3-bisphosphoglyceric acid. That is a triose phosphate, that is glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, and another one is a dihydroxyacetone phosphate. So both of these are 3-carbon compound. They are interconvertible to each other. So whatever may be the 3-carbon compound, whether it is a glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate or it may be dihydroxyacetone phosphate. Any of them later changes into 1,3-bisphosphoglyceric acid by utilizing one molecule of NAD, and later its reduction takes place, that NADPH2 are formed. Okay, student, 1,3-bisphosphoglyceric acid by utilizing one ADP molecule. To synthesize one ATP molecule, here 3-phosphoglyceric acid is formed. Then the 3-phosphoglyceric acid, it later changes into 2 molecules of 2-phosphoglyceric acid. And one water molecule is released during this step. And later 2 molecules of 2-phosphoglyceric acid, it changes into 2 molecules of phosphophenol pyruvate. And this phosphophenol pyruvate, its 2 molecules, it later changes into pyruvic acid by utilizing one ATP, and as a result one ATP is formed. So what we conclude from the entire process of glycolysis, that here how many ATPs they are used? 2 ATPs are used, that is during the production of glucose 6-phosphate from glucose, and fructose 1,6-bisphosphate from fructose 6-phosphate. And here one NADH2 molecule is formed, which is also an energy rich molecule, and 2 ATPs they are also used during the process. That's why the net gain of glycolysis, it is 2 molecules of pyruvic acid with how many ATPs? 2 ATPs. Okay, student, go through the flow chart carefully. Revise your chapter. I am quite hopeful that the things is clear to you. So still, if you have any doubts, send me your doubts. So that's all in today's lecture, student. Have a nice